I wanted to talk about how to focus on the one thing. I had somebody who had recently joined the Real World Productivity Group asking about this, and like I said at the beginning of the show, he felt like he's got a good grip, he's got a good, decent system. Like all of us, it's not perfect, but he's got something that's working for him. He's got a few methods he's trying, this, that, and the other thing, but he's having trouble focusing on the one thing, and was looking for some ideas on I understand it's not working for me, so what should I do? And I thought that this was a really good time to touch on it just from a higher level. I wrote a while ago a little bit of a article on that. You can head over and find that, or you can just Google focusing on the one thing to get more done in Productivity Academy and find it, or just go to the site and type the one thing in the search bar and you'll find a short article with a video on how to do that. But I wanted to touch base on this again and talk about this just briefly again. How do you do this from like a high level perspective down to what you actually do? So the first thing I really recommend doing is saying, how do you know it's the right thing that you're focusing on, right? Because if you have one thing, it better be the right one. And so something that I think we can simply do, and I know I have to do this myself, is ask myself, occasionally, whether that's daily or weekly or quarterly, is this working towards my bigger goals? Okay, whether, maybe it's a quarterly one thing. Does this support my yearly goals and my 10-year goals or midterm, long-term? And then is it a SMART goal, right? Is it specific? Is it measurable? Is it achievable? Is it relatable or relevant? And is it time-bound? And just saying that, it's a kind of a goal in itself, that one thing. So we want to make sure that we're going after, not only that it supports everything else, but that it fits that SMART goal, that, it is specific. It's not that general, I'm going to build a business, right? That's not something that's going to happen. There's no endpoint to it. It's not specific. It's not a time-bound thing. So really want to make sure that we define that. Again, you don't have to beat yourself up about this. It's just being more specific when you go through this and making sure that, yes, this fits in with my goals, and yes, I have a good formulation of it. I understand what it is. It's very, I can easily explain what it is, how long it's going to take, things like that. And then secondly, I think that this is important too, just like having a daily review or a weekly review is reviewing, right? And how are you spending your time? A lot of times we realize, man, I've got this one thing I want to do over here, but all this other stuff is going on. Okay, well then that's where you start looking at it and be specific and say, okay, if I want that one thing, then I should apply the 80-20 rule to it, and that should be taking up 80% of my time. But if I'm doing all this other stuff, what is it? And just start knocking them off one after the other. Again, it could be you stop doing those things, you delegate those things, you automate them, whatever it is you do, but don't worry about, well, all this other stuff is slowing me down. Just take care of one of them at a time. And over time, you really can start clearing them away. And so to make that more tangible, let's say we'll use the always used social media one. I'm spending more time on social media than I intend to. Okay, then do something practical to help yourself. Take your phone, put it out of reach, literally, and maybe like upside down and put it on silent. Okay, maybe the other one is I check email too much, and this is something I've had to do. Okay, well then I work with a set of tabs in like Chrome where I pin them, right? You can make them smaller so that they're always open, but then my other tabs I just use for working on whatever I'm working on at that point in time, and then I close them down so that I don't just constantly have email open. Email is not one of the pinned tabs, right? Pinned tabs like Calendar, Google Drive, maybe Todoist, Notion, things like that where I need them constantly open. I'm grabbing information, going back and forth, and then keeping those things out of there. So again, just to recap on that, it's taking a look at your one thing, and if you're not spending your time on that, then moving towards that by doing a regular review. I highly suggest that that's probably a weekly thing that you do. It could be daily again. But whatever you're doing is just saying, okay, well, I'm reviewing how I'm spending my time. Now, how am I going to adjust? And what's like the one thing that I can do to move towards my one thing, whether it's spending more time on it or focusing more time on it, or saying I have this other area that's detracting from it. How can I stop doing it? How can I automate it? Or how can I get someone else to do it? All right, and looking at it like that. Again, you don't have to tackle everything at once. Just once review, identify what you could take care of then in that day or that next period, and go for it. So over time, that stuff really adds up. So this is the same basic concept I used to free up is 115 hours in 2018, which is awesome, of just doing a 30-minute review every week, and then automating, delegating, or deleting like a 5-minute task that'll free up 115 hours, which is like a week. It's insane. So highly recommend you do that, and that's a great way to make sure that you're able to focus more and more on that one thing, especially with a limited schedule or a limited amount of time to do that. So hopefully that's helpful for you. And I think that is going to wrap it up for this week. That's it. Again, if you're watching the replay, that's great. I appreciate you checking it out. You can find below the link to come join us in the Real World Productivity Group. You do have to answer a few questions about whether or not you want to be in a group about productivity, time management, automation, all that sort of good stuff. And if you're checking us out on YouTube, you can click subscribe, stay up to date with this and other videos that we put out there around the same areas like automation, time management, all that sort of good stuff. So that'll do it for this week. I'll see everyone next week for episode 98. Thanks for watching. You can stay up to date by subscribing right there. If you'd like to come join our free Facebook group about process, automation, productivity, all that good stuff, you can do that right there. Just answer the few quick questions and you'll be in.